Memphis, Tennessee was home to the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. His legacy lives on there in many ways, but probably none more meaningful than the hospital care unit that bears his name. This story is not a recreation. It's the reality of nights on call at Elvis Presley Memorial Trauma Center.
Fire department.
We have 1287.
What's wrong?
My boyfriend hung himself in the tree. I don't know if he's still breathing or not.
He's in the tree now? Where are you calling from?
Over his house. I do not have a phone.
What is the address?
It's in front of my house. I still...
Your boyfriend's hung in a tree?
Yes.
Okay, we're on the way.
Emergency call. Also a first responder call. Party was hanging from a tree near East Trigg. Unit 12 and truck 19 respond. 8.
When help arrives, the 18-year-old youth who had been found hanging had already been taken down.
We had got into an argument, and he said, okay, that I would regret it. And I went in the back to fix my baby bottle. When I came back, that's when I looked out the window and he was hanging from the tree.
Our primary concern was how long he had been in the tree and whether there was going to be brain damage. We were also concerned that there might be some cervical spinal damage, so we placed him on the spine board.
Most of the time you find you're hanging. Patient's been there too long to do anything about. He did not look in very good shape, very close to not being alive at all.
He's hanging by a rope around his neck. How high off the ground? Is that high off the ground? They are, no.
He was unconscious. It was a bad sign. It made it more urgent for us to get the oxygen on him and the intravenous line started.
Andre, be still.
He was making a lot of noise when he breathed. There was some kind of congestion or obstruction or damage to his neck.
Be still. Andre, sit still. You gotta lay still, bud. Andre, hold your arm still.
He was having some seizure-like movement, and he was really trying to fight us.
With his fighting, it took 3 of us, but we did establish an IV line on him.
Okay.
Memphis 12, we're en route to your facility with a black male patient who was found hanging from a tree. First responders stated that they could not get a pulse on this patient. However, carotid pulse was palpable. We were still unable to obtain a blood pressure. We have about a 10-minute ETA to your facility. If you have any further questions or orders, check Unit 12.
They arrive at Elvis Presley Memorial Trauma Center within 10 minutes.
I never felt like there would be a good prognosis for this patient. I really felt like at best he would be paralyzed. It was a relief to turn him over to the doctors and the nurses there in the ER.
Put the oxygen amber bag on him. He's breathing on his own. Don't force him. Don't make him bust. Just let him breathe on his own. He's full volume. Just let him go. Just let him go. Let me feel his neck. I don't really feel. Yeah, no cramp in it.
Dr. Martin Croce heads up the trauma team.
I thought he was in pretty dire straits. He was not responsive, and he was having a lot of difficulty breathing. It was clear to me that he had probably suffered a period of time with fairly poor blood flow to the brain and certainly poor oxygenation to the brain.
He's going to need his head scanned. He's going to need bilateral carotid arteriogram. We'll scan his head and neck, too, to make sure he doesn't have a laryngeal fracture.
No one really knew how long he had been hanging. I was pretty nervous that he was not going to wake up.
Let me tell you what we're dealing with.
Dr. Croce explains Andre's condition to his mother, Jessie Carr.
He's not really conscious, but he will open his eyes, and he moves both of his arms and moves both of his legs. Now, whether or not he's going to need an operation, I don't know yet. Whether or not he's going to wake up, I don't know. Only time will tell.
When they cut Andre down, he fell to the ground, and he was just getting his last breath. It sounded like, you know, like a person dying, gasping for their last breath.
His initial CT showed that he had a fair amount of pressure in his head. Seeing that swelling on his head CT, I was very concerned.
More tests are ordered. Doctors are concerned that the arteries leading to Andre's brain might have been damaged.
Looks good. Right side looks good. I hope the left side looks like this.
An arteriogram involves us putting a catheter into his common carotid arteries, which are two of the main vessels that go to his brain and run in his neck. We inject contrast material into those vessels and take a sequence of X-ray pictures to look for damage that may be caused by the blunt trauma of his injury. And there is some risk involved anytime you are working in an artery, particularly some of the arteries that go to the head.
Dr. Kroos and radiologist Max Moss examine the results of the arteriogram to determine if surgery is needed.
We're done. Looks normal. Both sides look good. No carotid injuries. No neck injury, really. Now we're just dealing with his head. Hope it wakes up. He has some swelling in his brain. We just have to sit tight. Okay. Probably by the time you go back to see him, he won't be moving, and it's not because he can't move, it's because we gave him some medicine. Our plan is let that medicine wear off, and then we'll just see. We'll see what he can do and what he can't do. All right? But that's where we stand right now.
When Andre is moved to the trauma ICU, his mother is finally allowed to see him.
When I saw him, I couldn't stand and look at him because he looked like he was dead. He wasn't saying anything. He didn't recognize me and didn't recognize anybody.
This is something that we can never tell until we have time to see how he recovers. Okay? He may be perfectly normal. He may never be normal again. It's hard to say.
The following night, Andre regains consciousness.
Keep your eyes open.
He did wake up a lot sooner than I thought he was going to. But I enjoy being wrong in instances like that.
Are you disturbed?
A little.
Like they're turned the other way?
If he had fallen just a little bit differently or his head had been tilted just a little bit differently, maybe he would have suffocated. Maybe things would have been a lot worse. I guess I'd put him in the lucky category.
3 days later, Andre Carr is physically ready to go home, but he must be officially released by psychiatrist Dr. Paul Hill.
We wanted to be sure that his mental state cleared before he left. He says that he had no intention to die and that he engaged in this behavior as a form of a prank. And because I'm unable to really validate that that was really, truly what was on his mind, I have to take his word for it. Hello, Mr. Carr, you ready to go home?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, good. What was on his mind was to get the attention of someone else in a very dramatic way. Unfortunately, a lot of times people die of this behavior that they never meant to be a suicide attempt. There have been some problems between you and your lady friend. We wanted to be sure that you had the phone number of where to call and get some therapy so something like this won't happen again. All right? Many people during the course of their lifetime have periods where they become hopeless and they think about suicide as an option for their life. The problems that lead someone to suicide are treatable and helpable problems, whether they're social problems, whether they're drug or alcohol problems, or whether they're major mental illness. These things are all treatable. You can help people.
It was the dumbest thing I ever did in my life, and I regret. Ooh, I regret it. And I know I'll never joke like that again.
I see that.
a certain rap group had a song, 911 is a joke, but it's not a joke in Memphis, because someone to get hurt in Memphis, 911 is there on time, prompt, and ready to assist that person. And I can say it from experience because they was there on time for me. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm here now. And I really appreciate 911. I really do. First thing I do when I get home is kiss the ground.
Back home with his girlfriend Sabrina and their baby, Andre is thinking about their future.
I'm thankful the good Lord didn't take me. He gave me a second chance, and I have to better myself this time. And I'm grateful for that. Real grateful. I bet he missed me, didn't he? Give me sugar, babe. Give me sugar. And I'm going to spend more time with Sabrina and my baby, you know, and we're going to do more things that a family should do.
I thought he wasn't going to make it, and I hadn't just really told him how much I care for him. Now that I can, I have told him, and I want him to know that I care for him a lot.
Oh, Carl. What's up, Carl?
I'm just happy to have him home, and I'm going to see if I can encourage him to use his second chance, because everybody don't get a second chance. And when you do get a second chance, you should take advantage of it. Andre and anybody else.
Me and Sabrina plan to get married, and all this will be in the past. And I got too much to live for. I'm just glad I didn't die, and I'm back here on this earth.
Next.
Car.